Boruto chapter 68 review. So I'm not going to talk about the first few pages because the first few pages actually cover things we already know. I guess in the story, they actually need to cover it with each other in order for it to progress. I feel like what they could have done is do one of those scenes where it's like, oh, it cuts straight to the point where everything has already been explained and they understand what's going on. That is how you increase the pace in the manga. And that is how we actually get a few pages to actually get new information. That's how it should be done, but they decided not to do that. I guess Boruto is more of an analytical and strategy-based manga now, because ninjas is all about, how you are able to fight your enemies and outsmart them. That's basically what Naruto and Boruto is at the moment. So that's what they just needed to do. One thing that Boruto says in this chapter is he basically says that he doesn't necessarily need the medicine in order to control Momoshiki. So it can only mean one or two things. Okay, the first thing is he knows his limits. He knows, okay, after I lose this amount of chakra, because I've done that several times and Momoshiki has taken over me several times, it means that I know exactly what limit it is that I need to get to before, I shouldn't use any more chakra. And therefore, Momoshiki can't take over my body. And then the other thing is, he's just doing a Naruto and he's thinking, you know what? Even though I need to take these tablets because of my will and the fact that I know that everything's going to be okay, I'm not going to take the tablets because at the end of the day, I'm Boruto Uzumaki. Basically, plot armor. That's what I'm saying. But it's really not smart for Boruto. And just in case, I would take the tablets myself. You know what I'm saying? Or at least I'll keep them in my pouch. Just in case, I'm running out of chakra and I know Momoshiki is going to take over, I'll pop in like 2, 3 to make sure I'm perfectly fine. But Boruto most likely is not going to do that. And most likely, in order to make the story exciting, Momoshiki is going to pop out. And I did make that point that even though Momoshiki cannot fully revive, without fully reviving, you were still able to take over Boruto's body. And I think Amado and Katasuki were basically on that point talking about this stuff. The other thing that happens is that they decide to let Sumire actually take care of Kawaki. And I know that people out there that ship Sumire and Kawaki and stuff, none of that should happen, all right? So chill the fuck out. They talk about Kawaki, right? And they basically again talk about the same stuff that Shikamaru and Naruto were discussing in the previous chapter. It's kind of like half of this chapter was just them filling in information on each other, right, that we already knew from previous chapters. They should really find ways to skip that. But basically Shikamaru and Naruto were discussing how to approach Kawaki. They don't want to turn him into an enemy because Kawaki is super powerful now. If they do anything that pisses this guy off, based on how ruthless he is, he will decide if he wanted to destroy the leaf or do whatever he wants, because at the end of the day, Naruto and Sasuke cannot stop Kawaki. So they have to approach this in a delicate manner. And Naruto's like, oh, I'm just going to talk to him. I'm sure Naruto's had so many talks with Kawaki and this guy still decided to do what he wanted. I feel like Kawaki has become now the new Sasuke. This guy is not going to be stopped. Kawaki is going to do what he needs to do. What Kawaki needs is not Naruto. Kawaki actually needs a proper therapist, okay? Before you give somebody who's mentally unstable power, you should first talk to them, fix their mental health, and then train them and teach them how to use ninjutsu and be a ninja. You don't give somebody who's mentally unstable the power and then try to talk to them. You don't have that. In order to convince somebody to do something, they need to see merit. They need to see that you're right. They need to, respect you to a certain extent. The only thing I feel like Kawaki expects is the fact that Naruto saved him. Except from that, in terms of power, nobody can talk to him about that. Nobody can talk to Kawaki about, changing his ways. At the end of the day, he has the power to do whatever he wants. So whether he listens or not is all up to chance. Naruto's talking no jutsu. I hope it doesn't work because, bruh, it's been all over Shippuden. They need a new approach to this shit. Now, let's talk about this character, Ada, okay? Because she's really getting on my nerves. From the first chapter that we've seen Ada, okay, all she's been doing is just talking about, how strong I am. I can deal with you if I want. I'm only allowing this because this, and that. All Ada has been doing is just giving threats. And in this chapter, there's no exception. She just goes on to threaten code. And that's perfectly fine. But if you're going to threaten someone, at least show that you have the power to do whatever you're saying that you're about. And in this chapter, it's just another threat to code. Even though in the previous chapter, Code literally hears all these threats and still decides to use Ada's brother. Ada basically says, you're not supposed to do that and I will allow this. It doesn't make sense. The guy is literally just saying whatever he wants, doing whatever he wants. You threatened him so many times and he's still doing whatever he wants. And when he goes out of line a little bit, in order to show your leadership, in order to show that you have the power to do anything, at least kick this nigga in his head, or at least smash something, break his leg, do something to prove your point that he shouldn't do that stuff again. It really is just empty threats. I feel like they don't have anything for Ada to say except from telling Code about what is happening by using her dojutsu, or just, you know, blatantly just spewing threats. That's literally all Ada's been doing. So in this chapter, again, it's just a repetition of the same shit. And she has the dojutsu to see everything that's happening within Konoha. So Code should always be one step ahead. However, in this chapter, he wasn't one step ahead. Now, let's talk about one thing that was mentioned in this chapter that I've been talking about for a very long time. So I made a video a very long time ago talking about planes. Ada confirms that planes within the Naruto universe exist. I've actually created a video on planes explaining every single one. And this was little information that was given to us in Naruto Shippuden when the Naruto manga was still going on. So if you really want to know much about planes, go ahead and look. But in this chapter, Ada basically says that there's a physical plane that Momoshiki is able to communicate to Boruto with, that nobody's able to access. Who knows? Maybe you can use a dojutsu to access this. If the plane exists and there are two characters there, most likely another third character can possibly go in there. But all I know definitely is that a Jinchuriki, okay, and a tail beast, the inner world, that's another plane. And I believe everybody has a plane of their own. As long as you are connected to them through Ninshu, you should be able to actually go inside the plane and speak to the character. Naruto has done this on several occasions in his final battle against Kaguya, when he was speaking to Obito, when, you know, all these people are talking to each other through the inner realm, with the tail beast communicating with the Six-Pack Sage, all these things, it's all done in planes. So planes exist. Check out the video. The biggest plot twist that I wasn't expecting this chapter is the fact that after Shikamaru got marked, apparently he was aware of it the entire time. If Shikamaru had not, noticed that would have been a huge problem for me. Shikamaru basically brought himself into Konoha knowing that he was marked in order for them to set up code. So when he was speaking to Amado, I actually thought that this was, a real altercation, that he was about to, do some stuff to Amado. So it turns out the whole situation was just a trap and kind of like a play that they were just planning out in order to draw out Code, because they knew Code was listening. As we can see, his ear was behind Shikamaru's back, which is literally just fucking disgusting. But it turns out the android that Amado was working on was actually a android called Bronco, and I think that is either the name to wake up the android or the command to wake up the android, or this is actually Bronco and it's basically a different version of Delta. Because remember, when Amado first shut down Delta in the Kara base, most likely he didn't take Delta with him. So most likely this is another version of Delta that he was working on. And this one hopefully has different powers than the Delta we've already seen. But based on the fight that I'm seeing here with the manga chapter, this is definitely just Delta 2.0. And I believe she actually has a leaf symbol at the top of her head, so that's kind of unique. But at the end of the day, Android basically acts like Delta, and I'm literally just wondering, all right, this can't be Delta, because if this is Delta, Delta would know that Amado betrayed Kara and would actually have an issue with it, but this one doesn't. Basically does whatever it's told. So yeah, this is definitely not Delta. This is somebody else, and Blanco is what her name's gonna be. So basically the altercation happens and Ada just pops out, and that's basically the end of this chapter. We don't know what Ada is going to do. Hopefully she's not going to just keep making threats and they actually have something for this character to do instead of just spying and just, giving empty threats. That's basically it.